Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I'm your host, Stacey J. Dempsey, and thankfully, like always, I have with me the one and only dad and one of the other daughters. So, good morning to the both of you.
Morning.
Good morning.
And we are posted up here in New Jersey where we are physically, mentally, and emotionally melting in this heat. So, our first nugget for today is to stay hydrated, drink your electrolytes, and either be in a pool or be in air conditioning. So, thanks so much for listening. We'll see you guys. No, I'm just joking. So, but thank you all for tuning in wherever you decide to listen in today from. Today, we wanted to talk a little bit about the benefits of starting or doing an internship before you jump into actually starting a business. How valuable that mentorship, that experience, and just that kind of paying your dues here a little bit, what that value really can mean for even just the longevity of the business that you are hoping to start. And certainly everyone here, on this podcast has had someone or multiple people who at some point helped them, mentored them, given them some experience. And at times, maybe we didn't get paid for it, maybe we got paid very little, but the knowledge and the experience and then the confidence that came from having that experience has really carried all three of us for many years to come. So Jen, let me start with you because you did, obviously before you started your business, you had some things you had to learn, and so why don't you just share with our listeners a little bit about kind of what you see the benefit of doing that before you start, just jumping full force into a business.
Well, I mean, of course, I can only speak from my experience and my perspective. And, thankfully, I had, you know, a mentor early on who, I mean, still to this day, I just continue to thank her for really the impact that she had on my career. But I didn't necessarily know it at the time, right? I just kind of got into a position, and it was really about, it started by teaching me how to do hair. And then it just turned into, now I want to learn more. And she recognized that in me, and she saw something in me, and she really took me under her wing, and, and took me to schools and didn't just talk at me, right? She really like took me to schools, took me to different meetings, put me in places that I had no business being in at the time. But, it benefited me to really understand what it took to run a successful salon and be out in the industry and be out in the community. So when, it did come time for me to open my business and make these decisions, I kind of already knew from experience what direction to go in. I think because of her mentorship and everything that she did for me early on in my career really gave me the confidence to say, you know what, I do think I can do this. And what I think is was really powerful at the time is that obviously I showed early on kind of the desire to be a leader, the desire to be more than just an employee. And she wasn't threatened by that. She was actually the opposite and really embraced that and pulled that out of me, and everything that I wanted to do, she really encouraged wholeheartedly. And I think that's so important in a leadership position, because sometimes it's like we want to mark our territory, and we're the leader, we're the top for a reason. But that's the quickest way for leadership's downfall, is to continue just to keep yourself at the top. So I mean, gosh, not only did she help me prepare to open a business, I feel like she helped me prepare to really be a true leader and a salon owner, and really understand what the role took. So, yes, I think everybody knows, if you've listened to our podcast, how much we value mentorship, um, and we value, that training. I remember towards the end there, I was kind of getting frustrated, right? Because one thing about me is that I don't have a lot of patience. And I think dad knows that about me. And I'll never forget, I was in the parking lot in my car, And I'm like, that's it, Dad. I'm ready. Like I'm doing this. And he's like, well, hold on a minute, honey. He's like, you need to lean in. You are not ready. You need to lean in. You need to stick it out. You need to stay longer because you think you're ready and you're not. Um, and I did just that. And leaned in a little bit more to that mentorship before I really left and took that next phase. But yeah, I mean, I just, again, I can't explain it more than that, that it was just really, I think because of that is really shaped the success that I've had from that point.
Yeah, I think one of the first things that, obviously when you are wanting to be out there, you have an idea, you feel very passionate about it, and you think that everything from your perspective, from what you already know, what experience you've had in life so far. And for many of us, there's just this gun ho, like, let's just do it, let's just do it. However, and sometimes it's hard to take a step back and say, wait a minute, I don't know everything.
Right.
And I need to have someone correct me, which is what Jennifer was just describing, where Jennifer's like, I'm ready, let's go, let's go. And Dad's like, no,
Mm.
no, you're not. And honestly, and I can even remember Joanne, who was your mentor at that time. I can remember, you sharing times you were frustrated with her because of her correction.
Right.
And again, the correction was done out of respect and it was done in love. But I think that could be a really hard pill to swallow for people because when you are so passionate about something and you're ready just to take a step, like you just want to do it already, it's a hard, it could be a very humbling moment to hear someone say, no, you're not ready.
Right.
And you need to, you need, basically, Dad was like, you need to chill out for a minute.
Right.
You need to chill out
Yeah.
because this isn't going to go the way you think it's going to go. And that's because Dad's had that experience, like this from his perspective, like, no, we need to ride this out a little bit longer. But that can be really hard. I think that's where also some people, they jump too soon and then they go back and go, I don't know why this failed, and are quickly able to point out, well, it's because of this or that. But a lot of times it's because we didn't do kind of like the paying our dues. We didn't do that we didn't seek out advice. We didn't seek out something like an internship or a mentorship. That a lot of times, we kind of get in our own way. So Dad, what do talk to our listeners a little bit about maybe your perspective of where you see the benefits of doing an internship before you kind of jump into starting a business.
Well, I think it's critical to, understand, the components of entrepreneurship and running a business. So I guess, as we're talking about this, I'm thinking about it from the perspective of, being intentional about it or being kind of understanding, all right, I'm working this job and I'm understanding how this business works, and I'm beginning to feel like I don't like being an employee. I'd like to run my own business, so at that point saying, okay, how do I take, that, and you guys used a word because I think I used them, lean into now understanding how to do what I'm doing as a business. How do I connect with, the leadership of this business, whether it's the owner or management, to begin to understand what that looks like, not just what my function is in that business. So having that intentionality in a job that you're doing. Like Jen was doing hair. She always did have the aspiration, to have her own salon. So she definitely was leaning into watching and observing. And we talked about that all the time.
Yeah.
And and plus then when, she would be frustrated about something, and went, okay, now it's time. Well, it wasn't, because you were making that call based on, a frustrating situation, not I'm ready to do this really. So that's the other thing you'd have to be careful with. But there's that part of it. Then there's, okay, I'm kind of on the outside saying I want to be in business. Here's my skill set. Here's my education. How can I connect in with an existing business that ultimately, because what you're basically saying is, I would like to be an apprentice under you as a business owner of your business, but just keep in mind, my goal is to have my own business and probably be your competitor,
Right.
and so, you know, you're understanding how to navigate that. Now, obviously, there's a whole host of ways that you could work through that. Clearly, if you're approaching someone about connecting into the business, then if you want to get paid for that, you're going to have to show how you're going to bring value to their business that would make it worth them paying you. Or you might say, I'm not really looking to get paid. I'm just looking to learn. So that's not typically the mindset, because people don't want to do stuff for free. But that could also be your foot in the door to say, how can I connect in with your business, learn how you operate as a business owner and how you run your business, and I'll do it free. But maybe at the end of the day, will show yourself bringing value that somehow could plug you in and become part of that team as an employee or something. So, but the bottom line is, I think or I should say the most common way is, okay, I'm in a business that I like. I can see myself continuing to do this. I just want to do it for myself and not as an employee. So how do I begin to lean in and learn the business side of doing that? So, and that's where that communication again would come in, to say how, if it's a very small business, you have direct access to the business owner. Well, that can be a conversation that, is pretty easy to have day to day. Now if there's more hierarchy in that business that you don't really have access to the owner, then you kind of have to work through the management channels, to see how you can begin to do that. But even with that being said, and none of that seems to work out, there's still the power of observation, so you can still be paying attention to how at least the things, how do they handle, um, you know, technology? How do they handle marketing? How do they do, conflict resolution with uh, clients, customers, other employees? I mean, you can do a lot just by, even if there's not a formal apprentice program, just pressing in and being a strong observer of how those things are being done.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dad, because as you were talking, I was sitting there thinking, there's kind of, in my mind, there's like internship. There's even, you volunteer your time, to help out, outside of maybe your 9 to 5, where, listen, we got to make money, we have some bills we got to pay, but where is some place that I can volunteer in a business that I think that I want to start, and then I can, like you said, you observe, you see how people talk, you see how they resolve conflict, you see how they network. So there's also like volunteerism, there's internship, and then there's just like, hey, can I tag along with you? Because listen, I like doing, you know, I like the landscaping business. I like doing landscape. I like doing the work, but I also know that the business behind it, I don't really know that much of it. So can I pick your brain? Can I, sit with you for a while? And can I have a couple meetings with you that, there's and most people that are in a leadership or entrepreneurial, situation, they welcome that. Like
Mhm.
I'll tell you right now, if somebody said, Jack, I would love to sit down and can I call you and pick your brain and ask you questions? Absolutely. Like there's most people say there's more than enough for all of us, for those that really want to work for it. And that, at least from our perspective, that has always rang true. you know. So I think there's just so many opportunities for people to say, yes, I like doing this one thing, but I need to kind of learn more. I need to get more comfortable. I need to get more information on, you know, the actual business part of it. And for my situation, how does that show up best? Is it volunteerism? Is it an internship? Is it, you know, picking someone's brain and having meetings and things like that? I feel like there's so many opportunities if you really start asking about them and start inquiring about them. And I think that's really one of the hardest steps to do, is to actually inquire how to go about doing that, rather than like, you know what? I got somebody that's going to give me $10,000 and I'm just going to go do this. And you could just make so many mistakes that if you had taken some time to do it a little bit differently, could have saved yourself a lot of mistakes, because you would have learned it through that, just that picking someone's brain, way. So,
Well, you make a great point, and you're right. I mean, and I and at this point in my career, I quite often get those calls, from different folks, who are, already maybe engaged in the business, but looking for how we handle this or how we build our model, that type of thing. And it is, I mean, you're absolutely right on. I mean, successful people, usually like to talk about their success and how they got there. And hopefully, I always try to do it in a very humble way, making sure I'm sharing with them, all the challenges and the hard things that you have to go through and the hard things that we went through and still go through. I mean, business is hard. It doesn't matter where you're at. Business is, and it's getting, things are moving faster and faster, and I would assume, Jen, if one of your stylists came to you and said, listen, I'd like to open my own salon someday. Can I learn from you? I mean, you might say, I would think you would say, sure. I mean, as long as you don't open it up right next door. But you know, you would definitely share, right?
Right. Well, and that's what, you know, I think that that's what's impressive to people that are already entrepreneurs. If you want to get your foot in the door, that's the first like impressive thing that you can say to someone is like, hey, I want to learn. I want more responsibility. I've had even, I want to be a manager. What do I need to do to get to this next step? So when you start asking people and sharing that with the right group of people, it's amazing what doors will open. I mean, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I would love to open my own salon one day, then that's like, let's bring them in. You right? Because get them under our wing. Let's teach them and help them. And because like you said, there's enough for everybody. And you just never know what opportunities can come from that.
Absolutely.
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
and that, I mean, and what I found, on the other end of it is usually I come away from those conversations or working, with, someone who's newer to, and looking to grow their business. I grow from those conversations also. I mean, it
Right.
really does help me in my own because it causes me to think about these things again and realize that, there might be some, there might be some things I need to do myself. I need to press in and get some more insights around some things that maybe I've just taken, maybe a little bit of a complacency around. So, it works on both sides
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So before we wrap this up, any final thoughts, Jennifer and Dad, on any ideas around any of the benefits that maybe we haven't touched on of doing your due diligence, paying your dues? I'll tell you something. The paying your dues, you know, you might obviously hear people say that, and I will say, like, that shows up and can be done in a plethora of different ways. But I think, a lot of times people go, they want to jump into something so quickly, even just say right out of, high school or college, and they want to jump into something that they're passionate about or they have a great idea about, but don't necessarily might have some book smart around, but don't have the experience around. And, you know, there really is a benefit of saying, you know what, my paying dues is helping someone else out for a little while. Or, maybe it's not a traditional internship, but just I'm trying to help. I want to genuinely help someone out that might need it, because I know I can learn a lot from them, even if it's not in the same industry that you intend for your business to be. Like there are, this is the business of business podcast, right? Like there are similarities across the board, when it comes to paying dues and learning, and once you do that, there's a real confidence that comes from that. Because certainly, and I know Dad, you can speak on this too, is that that confidence that Jennifer felt that day she got in the car and said, "This is it, Dad. I need to go out on my own." That was a different confidence than when you guys actually signed a lease
Right.
and Jennifer's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do this." Right.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So
Exactly. Well said. Well said.
well,
Okay.
that's
Good.
my nugget. How about it?
Hey,
Good,
you.
great,
I
wonderful.
like that nugget. Good nugget to end on.
Wonderful. Well, to all of our listeners, thanks for listening in on our conversation today. Hopefully, you guys have enjoyed it. We have enjoyed talking and sharing with all of you. So until we can be together again, be kind to each other, be kind to yourself. We'll see you guys in our next episode. Bye.